Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching The World Report. Let's first take a look at some headlines. Russia's defence ministry says 42 Ukrainian drones have been destroyed across 5 regions overnight. Meanwhile, a video has emerged showing a Ukrainian sniper moments before being executed by Russian forces. His execution is said to be one of many since the war started. The United States military has carried out airstrikes in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. Targets included a missile storage facility and a command and control site. The US Central Command says the strikes were aimed at disrupting Houthi operations. This comes following a strike in Israel's Tel Aviv yesterday that was claimed by the Houthi group. Negotiators for a Gaza ceasefire in Doha are 90% of the way through completing a deal, according to multiple sources. However, issues remain, including Israel's military presence in the Fidelfi corridor. One proposed solution is a buffer zone along Israel's border with Gaza. A memorial for victims of Friday's car-ramming attack in Magdeburg has been marred with protest. Far-right members have taken to the streets against the attack. This reflects some rising political tensions across Germany. The far-right AfD party's popularity is growing amid debates over immigration. China has protested America's latest military aid and arms sale to Taiwan. A foreign ministry spokesperson called on the US to stop undermining peace in the Taiwan Strait. This follows the White House's announcement of $571.3 million in aid and a further $295 million in arms sales. A crash between a bus and a lorry in Brazil has killed at least 38 people. 13 others have been taken to hospital with injuries following the incident. This year in Brazil, more than 10,000 people have lost their lives in traffic accidents, according to the Ministry of Transportation. China condemned the United States for its military support to Taiwan. Recently, the Joe Biden administration has authorized the provision of up to $571.3 million in defense material and services. Here is the report.
China condemned the United States for its latest military aid and defense material sales to Taiwan. In a statement released Sunday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry cautioned the USA that it is playing with fire. USA President Joe Biden authorized the provision of up to $571 million in Defense Department material and services. This aid can also be used for military education and training for Taiwan. The Defense Department said that $295 million in military sales had been approved. A Chinese Foreign Ministry statement urged the USA to stop arming Taiwan. It termed these moves as dangerous that undermine peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. However, this is not the first time when China warned the USA for selling defense materials. Last week also China issued a similar warning to the USA.
中方坚决反对美台的军事联系和美对台出售武器的立场是一贯的、明确的。我们敦促美方恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报，特别是817公报的规定，停止武装台湾，停止纵容支持台独势力以武谋独。
The China-Taiwan situation represents an enduring geopolitical dispute regarding Taiwan's autonomous status. With increasing Chinese military presence around the island and USA's aid to Taiwan on the other hand, the situation seems to get worsened day by day. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now take a look at some news updates from across North America. Congress has allocated over $100 billion in emergency aid following back-to-back hurricanes. The funding will help communities recover and rebuild critical infrastructure, including Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. The bill, signed by President Joe Biden, ensures government funding throughout March. The Federal Emergency Management Agency will use the Disaster Relief Fund to support affected states and local governments. While $29 billion was approved, more funds are expected afterwards. Local officials, including Asheville Mayor, expressed relief at the additional aid. Eric DeVolcania, a former Kansas City police officer, was released from prison on parole on Friday. Missouri Governor Mike Parson commuted his sentence after months of debate. Kenya was convicted of killing 26-year-old Cameron Lamb in 2021. His conviction, though, sparked protests and calls for justice. Kenya had served part of a 6-year sentence for involuntary manslaughter. His supporters argue he was unjustly convicted. While released, he still does face conditions such as restrictions on firearms and any out-of-state travel. Minneapolis has amended an ordinance that restricted access to abortion clinics after a lawsuit from anti-abortion activists. The city revised the law to protect free speech, excluding constitutionally protected activities like disrupting literature. Pro-life action ministries, which challenges abortion access, praised the move. The ordinance aimed to protect patients at a Planned Parenthood clinic in Uptown. However, it faced legal challenges, leading to this compromise. The city also agreed to pay the activists' legal fees. The case highlights ongoing debates between reproductive rights and free speech. A pickup driver fleeing police crashed into a JCPenney store in Killeen, Texas, injuring 5 people. The truck continued through the busy mall before officers fatally shot the suspect. The chase began after reports of erratic driving near Belton. Victims ranging from a 6-year-old up to a 75-year-old were hospitalised. Authorities said officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect, including an off-duty security guard at the mall. Witnesses described chaos as people fled from the scene. Rickey Henderson, known as the Man of Steel, has passed away at 65. The Hall of Famer redefined baseball's leadoff position over his 25-year career, amassing 1,406 stolen bases, a record unlikely to be surpassed. Henderson's accolades include an MVP award, 10 All-Star selections, 2 World Series titles and a Gold Glove. Teammates and fans remember him as a game-changer, with former A's executive Billy Beane calling him the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. The US military confirmed airstrikes in Yemen's capital Sana'a targeting Houthi sites. A missile storage and command centre were hit. CENTCOM says the strikes aimed to disrupt Houthi operations. Drones and a cruise missile were also intercepted. Here is the full report.
The United States military has confirmed carrying out airstrikes in Yemen's capital, Sana'a, targeting Houthi-linked sites. Among the objectives were a missile storage facility and a command and control center. According to US Central Command CENTCOM, the operation aimed to disrupt and degrade Houthi operations in the region. CENTCOM also intercepted Houthi drones and a cruise missile during the operation. On Thursday, Israel bombed several targets in Yemen, including power stations near Sana'a, killing at least 9 people.
استهدف به العدو الإسرائيلي الموانئ في الحديدة ومحطتي كهرباء في صنعاء وأسفر العدوان الإسرائيلي عن استشهاد 9 شهداء مدنيين.
The strikes followed a missile launched by the Houthis towards Tel Aviv, marking a significant escalation in regional conflict. After the strikes, Netanyahu said the following.
אחרי החמאס, חיזבאללה, משטר אסד בסוריה, החות'ים הם כמעט הזרוע האחרונה שנשאר לציר הרשע של איראן. הם לומדים והם ילמדו בדרך הקשה שמי שפוגע בישראל משלם על כך מחיר כבד מאוד.
The Houthi strikes had wounded 16 people and was the second such attack within days. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now move to some news updates from Europe. Iceland's president presented a new government on Saturday under Social Democratic Prime Minister Kristrún Frostadóttir. Frostadóttir's centre-left Social Democratic Alliance emerged as the largest party in a snap election held on the 30th of November. The alliance has formed a coalition with the centrist People's Party and the left-leaning pro-European Reform Party. The new government also holds the objective of putting the question of EU membership to a referendum by 2027. Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić vowed to resist weeks of nationwide protests over a train station roof collapse that killed 15 people. Protesters, including teachers and students, accused the government of corruption and poor oversight. Vučić, dismissing the protests, said he would not give in to pressure. He also announced subsidiaries for young people's housing. This is seen as an attempt to dilute public anger. A French court has sentenced 7 men and 1 woman to prison for their roles in a hate campaign that led to the October 2020 murder of schoolteacher Samuel Paty. Sentences ranged from 3 to 16 years. The attack followed false claims on social media that Paty showed obscene images of the Prophet Muhammad. Abdullah Anzarav, a radicalized Chechen Muslim, killed Paty and was shot by police shortly afterwards. On Friday morning, a 19-year-old man entered Preko Primary School and stabbed 5 people, injuring himself before being arrested. This incident occurred in the Croatian capital of Zagreb, in which a 7-year-old was killed and 4 others were wounded. Following the event, teachers and parents have questioned the lack of security in schools in Croatia. There are calls for stringent securities for students and staff. Freed animal rights activist Paul Watson vowed to end whaling worldwide and stop Japan if it attempts to resume whaling in the Southern Ocean. Watson, a Canadian-American, returned to France on Friday after 5 months in detention in Greenland, facing an extradition request from Japan. Under international pressure, Japan, along with Iceland and Norway, abandoned commercial hunts. Since 2019, it has only caught whales in its waters. Finland's Prime Minister Petteri Orpo declared that Russia poses a permanent and dangerous threat to the EU, emphasising the need for increased defence spending and support for Ukraine. Orpo made the statement during hosting a summit on security and immigration with other EU leaders. It included EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. It highlighted the changing security landscape in Europe. US President-elect Donald Trump has appointed Mark Burnett, producer of The Apprentice and Survivor, as his special envoy to the UK. Burnett will focus on strengthening diplomatic ties, including trade and cultural exchanges. Other notable appointments include Herschel Walker, Kimberly Guilfoyle and Tilman Fertitta. Let's take a look at this report.
US President-elect Donald Trump has appointed British TV executive Mark Burnett, who produced him on The Apprentice, as his special envoy to the UK. On Saturday, Trump announced on Truth Social, praising Burnett Mark's distinguished career in television production and business, combined with his diplomatic skills and international acclaim, makes him uniquely suited for this important role. Burnett has created and produced shows including Survivor, Shark Tank, The Voice and, most notably, The Apprentice, which ran from 2004 to 2017. Trump stated that Mark will work to enhance diplomatic relations, focusing on areas of mutual interest including trade, investment opportunities, and cultural exchanges. Trump has included several other individuals who lack diplomatic and foreign policy experience. He recently appointed former NFL player Herschel Walker as ambassador to the Bahamas and Charles Kushner, his son-in-law's father, as ambassador to France. Trump has also named Kimberly Guilfoyle, former partner of his son Donald Trump Jr., as ambassador to Greece. Additionally, David Fink was tapped as administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration. Trump chose billionaire Tilman Fertitta, owner of the NBA team Houston Rockets, and Landry S., as his administration's ambassador to Italy. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now take a look at some news updates from the Indo-Pacific region. The military's media wing stated that a Pakistani military court sentenced 25 civilians to between 2 and 10 years of rigorous imprisonment for attacking military facilities in 2023. The verdict fuels concerns among jailed former PM Imran Khan's supporters about increased military court involvement in his cases. Protests erupted on May the 9th, 2023, after Khan's arrest, leaving 8 dead. The Chinese bulk carrier Yi Peng 3 is again moving after sitting still for more than a month in a nearby Danish shipping lane. It is under investigation following a breach of 2 fibre optic cables in the Baltic Sea. On Thursday, China allowed investigators from Germany, Sweden, Finland and Denmark to board the vessel, ending a month-long diplomatic standoff. The death toll from the LPG tanker explosion on the Jaipur-Ajmer highway has risen to 14, with over 30 people in a critical condition. The blast, triggered by a collision with a truck, caused a massive fire, destroying at least 37 vehicles. The Supreme Court committee has sought a report from the Rajasthan Chief Secretary. The state has announced 5 lakh rupees ex gratia, and the centre will provide 2 lakh rupees. A massive bushfire in Victoria's Grampians National Park, sparked by lightning on Tuesday, has spread across 34,000 hectares and remains uncontained, officials said. Residents of nearby towns, including Halls Gap, were urged to evacuate as the fire was set at the highest danger rating. Authorities warn the blaze, fuelled by unburned vegetation, will likely continue for several days. A magnitude 6.1 earthquake rattled buildings in Vanuatu's main island earlier on Sunday. No major damage has been reported yet. This comes 5 days after a more powerful quake wreaked havoc and killed 12 people. The quake occurred at a depth of 40 kilometres and with its epicentre about 30 kilometres west of the capital. Unlike the previous tremor, no tsunami alerts were issued. After 17 years of delays and budget overruns, Ho Chi Minh City celebrated its launch and its first metro line. Thousands of residents boarded the 20-kilometre, $1.7 billion line, marking a significant milestone in the city's development. It took 17 years for Vietnam's capital to achieve this. The project, majorly financed through Japanese government loans, was initially approved in 2007 and was expected to cost $668 million. A horrific car ramming attack in Magdeburg's Christmas market has claimed 5 lives and left over 200 injured. Here's how the city and the country are coping with this tragic incident.
A festive evening turned into a nightmare at Magdeburg's Christmas market when an SUV ploughed through a crowd at high speed. 5 lives were lost, including a young child, and over 200 people were injured. The attack left a trail of devastation and sorrow, shaking the country to its core. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited the site to pay tribute to the victims. Dressed in black, he joined regional politicians to mourn and show solidarity with the city of Magdeburg.
Was für eine furchtbare Tat ist das, dort mit solcher Brutalität so viele Menschen zu verletzen und zu töten. Wir haben mittlerweile erfahren, dass es über 200 sind, die verletzt worden sind. 5 sind bisher gestorben, unglaublich viele.
The suspect, Taleb Jawad al-Abdulmuhsin, a 37-year-old man, has been taken into custody. Prosecutors suggest the attack may have stemmed from his frustration with Germany's treatment of refugees.
Im Stand sieht es so aus, dass Hintergrund der Tat, wie soll ich das jetzt formulieren, Unzufriedenheit mit dem Umgang mit saudi-arabischen Flüchtlingen in Deutschland gewesen sein könnte.
As the investigation continues, the tragic attack has triggered anger and fear among residents in Magdeburg. Many are demanding accountability and stronger measures to prevent such incidents. A memorial service was held at Magdeburg Cathedral, with over 2,000 attendees standing in solidarity with the victims. The sombre event was a moment for reflection, as mourners grappled with the senseless violence.
Es ist schockiert, traurig, fassungslos, dass sowas hier in Magdeburg passiert. Genau, vor allem Traurigkeit überwiegt, genau.
Despite the tragedy, Germany's Christmas markets remain open, a symbol of resilience. Visitors and vendors are determined not to let fear overshadow the spirit of the holidays.
Ensuite, bon, on a vu qu'il y avait des voitures de police un petit peu partout, donc je ne dis pas qu'on se sent protégé, mais je crois qu'il faut... non, je crois qu'il faut sortir, je crois qu'il faut continuer. La vie ne peut pas s'arrêter... ne peut pas s'arrêter avec... Bien sûr, c'est dramatique ce qui s'est passé, c'est abominable, mais je crois qu'il faut aller de l'avant.
As Magdeburg mourns, questions about public safety and refugee integration dominate national discourse. Germany is now faced with the challenge of healing while ensuring such a tragedy never occurs again. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now take a look at the latest news from the world of business. Albania has announced a one-year ban on TikTok. This comes after the killing of a teenager last month. It raised fears over the influence of social media on children. The ban, part of a broader plan to make schools safer, will come into effect early next year. Prime Minister Edi Rama said after meeting with parents groups and teachers from across the country, he has blamed social media for fueling violence among youth and inside schools. France's most powerful nuclear reactor to date finally began providing electricity to French homes. This comes after a plethora of technical setbacks that led to a 12-year delay in the project. French leaders hailed it as a landmark moment despite years of technical setbacks. President Emmanuel Macron applauded it as a great moment for the country. This is the fourth water reactor to be finished anywhere in the world. Starbucks workers have expanded their strike to 4 more US cities, including New York. The 5-day strike began on Friday and initially closed Starbucks cafes in Los Angeles, Chicago and Seattle. It has now added New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia and St. Louis to the list. Workers United, the union representing over 10,000 baristas, warned that the strike could reach hundreds of stores by Tuesday on Christmas Eve. It had conducted more than 8 bargaining sessions and 30 agreements had been reached. Party City, which has been struggling since the COVID-19 pandemic, filed for bankruptcy protection in the United States. This was the second time in 2 years as it plans to wind down its retail and wholesale operations. The retailer said that all of its 700 stores in the country would remain open as it commences a going out of business sale. In a filing with the court, Party City Holdco listed both assets and liabilities. It is estimated to have more than 10,000 creditors. Stellantis has reversed its decision to lay off around 1,100 employees at an Ohio Jeep plant. This comes less than 3 weeks after the abrupt resignation of CEO Carlos Tavares. The company has not decided to put employees on indefinite layoff from the 5th of January. It said to extend a workers' adjustment and retraining notification notice. Employees are expected to return to work as scheduled after the new year. At least 38 people have been confirmed dead following a tragic traffic collision in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais. The crash, which involved a bus and a truck, occurred earlier this morning near the city of Teofilo Otoni. Here is the full report.
At least 38 people have been confirmed dead in a tragic traffic collision in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais. The crash, which involved a bus and a truck, occurred early in the morning near the city of Teofilo Otoni. Fire department officials, who were among the first responders to the scene, confirmed the devastating incident. The bus, which had departed Sao Paulo with 45 passengers on board, reportedly blew a tire, causing the driver to lose control. The bus then crashed into a truck, and shortly after, another car collided with the bus.
No local, o ônibus que seguia sentido Teofilo Otoni pela BR-116 perdeu o controle, colidiu com uma carreta, onde veio a se incendiar. Posteriormente, veículo Fiat Argo, que vinha também sentido Teofilo Otoni, colidiu na traseira também desse bitrem. Felizmente, as vítimas do Fiat Argo todas foram resgatadas com vida. Todavia, tivemos uma grande quantidade de vítimas carbonizadas no ônibus.
Governor Romeu Zema of Minas Gerais announced a full mobilization to support victims and their families after the tragic BR-116 crash near Teofilo Otoni. He stated that security forces had been working since dawn, and he made military aircraft available to aid rescue efforts. Bureau Report, NewsX.
That is all we have time for. We'll be back shortly with more of the latest international news updates.